You are watching Mad Men Cafe live on Q2 Cast TV.
Live from high atop his mountain fortress, it's the show that's 100 organic, 40 caffeinated, and at least 50 feet away from all historical monuments. He's the man who once successfully argued with a GPS until it started crying. He's faster than a speeding snail and capable of overthinking a greeting card at a single bound. Hide your snacks and lock your doors. Here's the madman.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another edition of the Madman Cafe, right here high atop my mountain fortress. Welcome. Let's see, 60 degrees out here in NYC. Hopefully the weather is good with you everywhere else. Everybody, welcome in the chat. On there, we got a lot to discuss today, and we got a little breaking here and there. We'll add it into the stream itself as we go along. But let's get into our panelists today. Of course, joining us as usual is Sci-Fi Snob. Hey, Snob, just in, huh?
Hello, welcome.
Yeah. Then, of course, we have Outpost Nerd.
What's up?
And joining us from abroad, from Tabletop Gaming, and there is Dean.
Abroad, don't talk about my mama like that.
Greetings, all.
And of course, he is my Deco to my All Might, making a surprise appearance here on the Madman Cafe, bringing in Cam Deco. Also.
Good evening. I'm sorry. Good day.
Well, it's good evening.
It
for
is a good
Dean.
evening. Yes.
Yeah, onto that situation. But welcome, gentlemen. Welcome aboard. We have a lot to discuss today. Of course, obviously, we have the Paramount situation going on, and we have the Netflix situation going on. But we want to start off with a couple of things first on there. A couple of notices. Some of those who have passed away. Obviously, if you haven't realized, Kenji Oba has passed away. If you're not familiar with him, he's one of the actors responsible for the Power Ranger situation. He's done Sentai, Kamen Rider, some many great things. Even before his death, he was still doing these shows. Now, if you're not familiar with the name or familiar with the product on the ass, he was also in the movie Kill Bill. He was Hattori Hanzo, or played by Sonny Chiba, assistant in the film. You remember this gentleman right here who had the argument with Hattori Hanzo, which was a great part, a great scene between the three of them on there. Yeah, the sake, give it sake, to the point. But like I said, he was a big responsible, for the popularity of Go-Go Sentai, Kamen Rider, most of the stuff, and that's the stuff that the Western distributors saw, and they were able to bring Power Rangers to the United States. Some great stuff that he's done. If anybody go back and look at some of the stuff from the 70s. I mean, even so, there's a little bit to it, the 60s and stuff. In fact, excuse me, he made an appearance in the original Gamma Cell. So he's done a lot.
Let's rest in peace to him, and let's just say it's a very, very sad day for Donnie as well. Let's not forget that.
Yeah, that too. Yep. Also, someone else who's very important to entertainment media, especially in the horror genre in Japan, is I try to pronounce this right, Kenji Soka. He is best known for the Water. You're familiar with these stories. He's the gentleman that wrote these stories that frightened millions on it. He's a great writer. He's brought a lot to the surface on there. Wrote a lot of great books and some. Like I said, these were made into movies.
Japanese
Ring and Dark Water.
Japanese horror movies, it's just more visceral than American. Like they take mundane objects, like in his case, the videotape. You watch this videotape, you die, or you die. The woman coming out of the TV screen. That was The Ring, right? Yeah, I wasn't sure for a second as I was talking, but it's so visceral, and like their like mythology is so like a woman walking down the street become a demon and whisk you away. It's more visceral than I think American and European like folklore. It,
Oh, it's a very different. It's a different. It's such a different. That's why in the Asia world, not only Japan. You're talking Taiwan, and and many other countries out there. They've made some great horror films that most people don't even realize that is out there.
Yeah.
You had that the zombie one. I'm drawing blank today. That basically, they're making this, a Train to Busan. They got another one, Colony, that's coming out very soon. That looks very, very good. And my wife loves them. And we're subscribed to Shudder, and a lot of them hit Shudder. And my wife, as soon as it hits Shudder, or if it hits Netflix, sometimes they hit Netflix, she'll watch them. To the point. Hey Dave, how are you there? Welcome. Thank you for showing up on there. We appreciate you in the chat as well on there, and everybody else that have shown up on there. One more Death Notice, which is basically, if you're familiar with Ask Jeeves, yes, Ask Jeeves is gone. Some people don't remember Ask Jeeves is one of the first one of the first original search engines out there. Has been around a long time, and some people say, well, they're still active. They were still active until May 1st. Most people didn't realize that Jeeves shut down at the beginning of this month. I mean, man,
it was a great search engine back in the day. I was in uni at the time when I came across, I think there was Alta Vista was one of them, Ask Jeeves, and a lot of people used Ask Jeeves because it was a lot of search engines kind of specialized in the areas that they would provide information. And if my memory serves me correct, Ask Jeeves tried to be a little bit more broader in how they search the web for you and what they brought back. Of course, Google cracked that absolutely when they came on the scene a few years later. But Ask Jeeves, decent search engine. Yeah. I would say it will be missed, but I can't remember the last time I used Ask Jeeves.
I didn't even know it was still around.
And Jeeves was only 29.
Yeah, most people.
So young.
Taken so young.
Yeah. The best
Taken so young on that.
Gory.
Yeah.
One more thing before we get into it. I know I've talked about it. Snob has talked about it on Top Lofty Lounge. We're familiar with the Amazing Digital Circus. And there is a release coming soon to theaters on there, which is basically being expanded. But unfortunately, some of you out there in the world will not be able to get to see it, because unfortunately, due to some censorship rules and things that are going on around the world, the company that handles it is not going to bend the knee to most of these countries. Now I'm told they're not being edited in China, so basically that's a good thing. But in some other countries, they released a statement that basically they're, the reason why you may not see it in your region is basically that, it's a censorship situation, to the point. They want them to take this out, take that out. I mean, come on, really? I've seen Digital Circus. I mean, why is there anything in there that basically you would take out? I mean, it's amazing. And the thing is, the other half of it is, you look at the perspective of how much that they're doing out there. I mean, they have surpassed $7.5 million in pre-sales, and they're going to be expanding to 2,000 theaters in the U.S.
Snob and I are going.
Now,
yeah,
I
know you guys got your tickets.
Let me add to this that I think that's only for the theater release. That is not for the release of the show per se, which is going to release on YouTube like 2 weeks after the theater release. But this is just the
not the
theatrical.
the theatrical. I've got a list of countries here, and it seems mostly in the Middle East. So it's Saudi Arabia, United Arab Emirates, Kuwait, Qatar, Oman, Jordan, places like that. So
it's kind of not surprising then if it's those countries.
It's not surprised. It's and it's when you look to this that they say, well, you need to do this, you need to do that, but you're censoring everything else. It's like you can't put that out. And then when people, like for example, Japanese anime, they complain about Japanese animes on there, and it says, well, you're complaining and you want it gone. They're going to take away something else that you like. That's going to happen. If you don't like it, don't watch it. Don't go pay the tickets. Kelly Suda comic. If you don't like my stuff, you don't like my, don't go see it. It's plain and simple. Nobody's forcing you to go to the theaters or watch it on YouTube. The situation, you might see a commercial on it. You don't. There are things that I don't like in the Japanese verse. There's stuff in the Western verse I don't like. I don't go see them. I don't give them the money. I'm very satisfied that I don't give them the money. That's it. End of story.
It's not just that. Like, if I just don't want to see it. It's bad. I have a moral obligation to keep other people from being corrupted by this so-called bad thing. It's this hero mentality, this main character syndrome that so many people have nowadays. I saw, working in the schools, I saw all the time these kids thought they were the main character. It's like, dude, girl, you're just a kid right now. You have so many people who are I can't explain it very well. It's just this idea, if I don't like it, it should not. I'm morally obligated to stop it.
It's a sense of moral superiority over others, and you can't express your superiority unless you stop other people enjoying what they want and adhering to your rules. And unfortunately, we live in a world where this has been applied over and over, and certain people and certain groups have special status. So, their needs rise above everybody else's needs. And we end up tiptoeing around each other, or just having stuff that's, that can't be shown. I mean, having lived through the Satanic Panic and tabletop and role play, it used to be the Christian churches that used to peddle this, and now it's kind of become this currency that lots of different groups are using to effectively have power over how we run our lives and enjoy our lives.
Morality Media, who's AKA Nosk, Collective Shout, not the entire, because it's not the entire Catholic Church, it's not the entire Mormon Church, but it's a good chunk of them. And then, with all these groups all these radical groups in between that are working together from here to the United Kingdom, to most of Middle Europe, to Australia, and then you got the CCP thrown in there just for laughs.
Without regard to the CCP, but in terms of these other, I think it's a certain subset of people within all of these groups that kind of use whatever they can weaponize, to their own end. And they're just throughout society. It's not like, they're right wing or they're left wing necessarily. Now they might gravitate one way or another at certain points in history, but it's just a certain type of person that likes control, I think.
Yeah.
I would just like to add that I appreciate you guys tiptoeing your wrong opinions around me all the time.
Oh boy, but we'll put a pin in that for now, for another day. So let's get into one of the main stories today, and we'll start off with this. We know that Paramount is going to be merging with Warner Brothers. Still waiting for the final regulation approval to the point, and this is still going to go around. I don't think this is going to end not until 2027, because there's a lot more situation for that. Let me just put this up for a moment. I'd like to thank Madman and his panels today for the insight and opinions you have offered on streams when you've brought them together like today. Thank you, Dave. Really, really, thank you very much on that. I know you've been watching our videos. and giving support on all of our channels as well. We really do appreciate that. And of course, Dave, spread the word. You can spread the word on that as well. But basically, getting into this, Paramount, Warner, they're coming together. There's a lot of what do they call it? A lot of detail into this situation. Some people agree with it. A lot of people disagree with it. It's the same thing when Netflix was close to closing onto the situation as well. They were pushing Netflix out. Oh yeah, we'd rather have Paramount. And now that Paramount's going to get, no, we don't want anybody to have it. It's like the same people that didn't want Netflix to have it and want Paramount to have it, and now saying they don't want Paramount to have it. Now, the thing is, at this point, Paramount has said once everything has been approved, HBO and Paramount Plus and BET, which Byron Allen couldn't get, which now he's going to be getting another company now. But basically, those three companies will be mishmashing together as one single app, similar to Disney and Hulu. And I'm just going to put a little bit into this, so at least read just to give you a base on this. Two major streaming services are preparing to combine following a landmark corporate acquisition, promising a vast content of library, but facing regulatory and technical challenges ahead. This comes as BET Plus is also merging into Paramount. Paramount Skydance reached a deal to acquire Warner Brothers Discovery in 2026 with an offering value approximately $77 billion at $31 per share, total enterprising value exceeding $110 billion, including the debt. Transactions received unanimous board approval from both companies. Warner Brothers Discovery shareholders overwhelmingly approved the deal in April of 2026. The acquisition encompasses Warner Brothers Studios, HBO Max, rebranded as Max at one point as Max, CNN, and other assets. And this includes all of their cable broadcast services as well. It target closure in the third quarter of 2026, subject to regulatory approvals and standard conditions. A ticking fee of 25 cents per share per quarter for Warner Brothers Discovery shareholders applied after September 30th of 2026 if the deal remains open. Paramount announced plans to merge Paramount Plus and HBO into one unified streaming service after the corporate deal closes. CEO David Ellison highlighted that the combined platforms will serve over 200 million direct-to-customer subscribers, strengthening the competition in the market. The goal includes enhanced content, reaching better engagement, and improved profitability through synergies. So this is what we have now. This is what's going on to this point. Now, do you think this is going to be easy to this point? It's already, the situation is starting, as they say, starting to get a little crazy. And these are a couple of articles that hit today. And we get to this. Come on. There we go. Paramount nor HBO could catch up to Netflix, Disney, or Amazon on their own. What do you think of that? Anybody?
I don't know.
I mean, do you think by themselves, Paramount or HBO
just,
Max could compete with Netflix? Is this true? Is this false to that point that they couldn't catch up to Netflix? Now, right now, you look to the perspective, YouTube itself and Netflix are up top as far as streaming.
I think that from first glance, that strikes me as a fair claim or a reasonable claim.
Okay. Snob, anything you want to put in?
I mean, I think this is good for the consumers because, finally one network we can see, Star Trek,
where to go with
SpongeBob, Game of Thrones, The Sopranos, and we can do our sports betting at the same time. It's great.
Snob, I sometimes can't tell if you're serious or not. The less competition we have, the worse product we get. It has been shown in every single industry. The less competition we have, the more crappy product we get. I don't think that having less companies for the sake of convenience is a good thing. I just
But
don't.
see, here's the problem, and this is where the piracy issue comes in. Reason why piracy is still hot is because all these individually, all these streaming sites. You know, 1 month you got Netflix has Friends. Next month they're on Paramount. The month after that they're on Peacock. You know, and it's getting to the point, or it becomes unavailable, which is happening right now.
That's
We're going to
not
talk about that later
piracy.
from Crunchyroll.
That's not piracy. That's these
No,
companies.
I'm not saying that's piracy. People have turned to piracy to watch certain things because they can't see it. Right now, Battlestar Galactica in the 70s is not available pretty much anywhere unless you pay for it. They just put back the 2000 series on Pluto and on Paramount after a long, hiatus of the situation on there to that point. It's how can I say it? It gets monotonous because basically a lot of these companies figured out back when Netflix is still king to the situation, that Netflix was making all this money situation. It says, oh, why can't we do it? Let's make our own site to the situation. How many websites have come and gone, like Popcorn Flicks and a couple of the others that basically thought that they could make it. And, by having this, grabbing, certain media and saying, hey, we have an exclusive to this particular show. And then they're gone.
Yeah, I think that there are too many streaming services to begin with. And exactly what you said there, Madman, is that there's a TV program we like. It's a horror TV series called From, and we have to watch it on Now TV when it comes out. But last year, it came out in the US a good 6 months before it came out over here in the UK. We waited patiently, but guaranteed a lot of people would have gone onto the high seas, as it were, and found a site where they could have got hold of those early copies and watched them before they came out in the UK. This is a good example where Now TV has a lot of stuff that HBO Max has. There's huge overlap between the two. But HBO Max just launched in the UK back in March. So now you've got this streaming platform which has a load of content. Some is not available on Now TV, but the majority is. So if you're a Now TV person and you want to watch the stuff that isn't available, you have to subscribe to yet another service. There are too many services out there. As for this argument, Netflix is by far excluding YouTube, Netflix is by far the biggest streaming service, 300 subscribers estimated. The merging of Paramount and HBO, that's going to bring them up to around about 200 million. Sorry, let's say 300,000. I meant 300 million for Netflix. So Paramount and HBO merger, that's about 200 million. That brings them in kind of line with Prime. But Disney, I don't know why Disney's on there, because their subscriber count is only around about 130 million.
And dropping.
Yeah. So I do wonder whether this is an argument put forward to try and stave off the Monopolies Commission. It's like saying, look, there are bigger monopolies out there. This isn't a monopoly. These two companies coming together, creating the streaming service, they're still going to be catching up with these big boys. So maybe that's the kind of argument that's being put forward here, rather than catching up. I think, my personal opinion, in any event, I think consolidating two streaming platforms into one, that's brilliant. As a consumer, that's music to my ears. You've still got choice out there, but too much choice is worse than not enough choice.
Anybody else?
There was at the beginning of the internet era, I'll call it, there was this idea going out there. It was kind of like, I know, microtransactions are a bad word in video games, but there was an idea that there would be a system set up whereby, and it was kind of most related to the newspapers, I believe, but it was like you could pay a penny or fractions of a cent to read an article type of thing. And this would be, perfect for, instead of, like Dean says, instead of like, there's a certain, I'm very, very particular on the shows that I watch, but there's pretty much on almost every streaming service, there's one or two shows that I really want to watch, but only one or two shows. I don't want to, join up to Disney. There's there's probably nothing on Disney, but there might be one thing I want to watch there. And I would much prefer that if I could simply, instead of having all these streaming services, I gotta, sign up for this one for a month and watch all these shows and then, kill it and then go somewhere else, whatever. If they would just charge me, hey, there's this series, pay $1 and you can watch each episode or the whole series or something like that. I mean, that would be perfect. Then I could watch exactly what I want. I wouldn't have to buy, Netflix is filled with, I can hardly find anything that I want to watch on there. It's got, this huge library, but most of it's just slop.
Yeah.
So that was an idea to fruition. Everything went, instead of pay to read or pay to watch, whatever, it all went to an ad revenue type of things, right? All the newspapers put all their stuff online, but they put ads on it to try to make money that way. So yeah, we could have been living in such quite a different world.
I mean, now even here in the U.S., in most cities, the New York Public Library and other libraries throughout the country, there's a site called Canopy. It's a free site, and it's connected to your local library. Most libraries haven't been connected yet, but a good chunk of them have. You can go. You can watch a lot of movies from their site now for free, as long as you have a library card.
That's a good deal. I like that, and I agree with Snob on the whole. It's can you imagine you buy a newspaper and you're spending how much for all those articles, and if you could spend a fraction of that and just get the ones you want, that's brilliant. It reminds me of that scene in Babylon 5 where they're recycling their newspapers and they decide what they want in their newspaper, and then it creates a newspaper for them and delivers it to them.
I know Outpost wants to say something.
There's even something like that for schools and movies in the public schools. If you have, I'm thinking if you can use a teacher can use their login credentials for their teaching portals to get on these websites that have all the approved movies for kids. Because in schools you can't watch anything, you can't show anything over a PG rating. So talking about Canopy and Snob, I never heard of that kind of business plan that they wanted to do with not newspapers. What you were talking about just now, that would have been an amazing idea because, yeah, you're right. Even in a printed newspaper, half the page is full of advertisements.
Yeah, and just let me clarify that it wasn't anything that ever came to fruition.
Yeah,
it was an idea that was thrown out there when the internet was young, people were speculating on different models of what might happen, and one of this thing was these microtransactions, and I think the biggest problem to it was there wasn't a payment system set up to do that, and it could have been something like PayPal. But it was specifically focused on something on these transactions, and for whatever reason, it didn't come about.
Yeah, Dave says another site access to local libraries is Hoopla, and he says Canopy is good. That basically a lot of art house style movies are on his. Well, I believe the way they have it hooked up, it's per your area. Someone told me, depending on
I think
where you live.
On that. Dave, I think my local library uses Hoopla as well, and I think that might be the most that most libraries use. It's more focused on books, and you can you ebooks, so you get an ebook for a month or whatever it is, and the library pays. I think the library pays a certain portion to the company to get access to it. I'm not sure if it's a subscription based thing or if it's a one-on-one thing that they pay for, but. Yeah, I think Hoopla is the one that I'm familiar with that our library uses. Yeah, I mean it. All this insanity. I mean, you have all these sites now that they're charging. They're beginning to raise their prices. Also, on top of that, is Paramount, when they merge together with HBO, are they going to raise their prices? Most likely, yes. So something's going to have to pay for the price.
of them buying to that situation and a lot of the changes that are going on. You got to also put it to the other perspectives of the other things that are going on surrounding the Paramount Skydance company. I mean, they're also trying to open studios up. In fact, here in New York, they're working with 1818 Studios, just right across the river from me. They already just broke ground to build this big, fantastic studio, and Paramount is going to be leasing stuff in there, and it's not that far away from the Netflix studio and the Lionsgate studios.
I have a question.
Mhm.
What happens if this merger does not go through? Is it going to be like Spirit Airlines and one of the companies is going to go under?
No, not really.
That's what
I
I'm.
mean, Warner has been in. Let me tell you something. From my experience and my dealings with Warner for the years, even back to my public access days, because back when it was Time Warner on there, they've been in financial trouble for that long. I mean, you go from the Time Warner days to the AT&T days to present day. They've always had a situation, but they've always weathered the storm. They may have not made a major profit to the point, but they still weathered the storm. They've able to figure out. I mean, when Zaslav took over, then people did not like how he's handling the company. Zaslav came in and cut a lot. And yes, he's taken shows, he's taken movies, he's taken them out of the system on there. And people say, oh, no, you can't do that, especially a lot of stuff from Cartoon Network. But if you notice, a lot of the Cartoon Network stuff is now in Tubi TV. So that means he made a major deal with Tubi TV. Tubi is paying Warner for all this content. What was that price point? We don't have those numbers, but it had to be a substantial number that Zaslav can now go over and says, hey, we've just made some good money. They've just removed, excuse me, Batman Beyond and Batman the Animated Series, and people are freaking the hell out of it. They're saying, oh my God, it's gone. I said, guaranteed it's going to go over in Tubi because Tubi's got all the other Batman and Justice League series on there. Like I said, it's Warner. If this doesn't happen, Warner is still going to survive this. This is not Spirit Airlines, which basically Spirit was a piece of junk company to begin with. And I could tell you, the horror stories. I mean, even from my own mother. And I'll tell you this, my mother was flying the day of 9/11. Okay, she was in the air coming back from Florida. Her plane was diverted to Atlantic City. And, you would figure, oh, Spirit would take you, throw you on a bus, bring you home. No, they tossed you, gave you one night at a hotel, and that's it. You're on your own. That's how they treated all their passengers on that flight. To the point, we had a major situation going, and you didn't go follow through and got these people home. You just said, good luck, so long. And you've seen the stories from Spirit, how horrible it is. But nonetheless, we get too far onto that. But this is not in the same category. What we have here is something much different to the point. But also, there are people out there that are afraid of this merger itself, concerning that. This also hit today as well. Come on. There we go. Oh no, wrong one. Back up one. There we go. No, that ain't it. Give me a second here.
I got to say, I love Spirit Air. I mean, that's a great that's a great TV show they put on with the what is it called? Spirit Air Fights. I think it's on X. I watch that all the time, man. That's some great fights there.
Mm-hmm. Reuters put this out this morning, and U.S. House lawmakers press Paramount CEO on the Warner Brothers acquisition. I'm going to briefly put a little bit of this into context from the article itself. Two U.S. House Democrats asked Paramount Skydance CEO David Ellison on Tuesday to disclose if he or the company offered to make changes to the CNN coverage of President Donald Trump in exchange for approval of the tie-up with Warner Brother Discovery. It is clear President Trump expects your potential ownership of Warner to produce favorable press coverage for him and his allies, wrote Representatives Jamie Raskin of Maryland and Frank Pallone of New Jersey in a letter response by Reuters. A merger between Paramount Skydance and Warner will be dangerously concentrated media power into a single conglomerate and bring more independent voices under the president influence. This is where it gets, your mind explodes sometimes when you hear some of these politicians. They're afraid that, especially Jamie Raskin, knucklehead of the year when he talks politics. But the overall thing is you have these two companies merging together, and the first thing that comes to mind on them is what kind of a light CNN is going to bring upon, the Democratic Party. That's the first thing in their thoughts. Not that basically, hey, merging together, it's going to save people money. It's going to basically, bring a lot more potential as far as, content throughout. You instead of having two companies separate you're paying for, you're bringing it into one with everything that you want to that point. But hey, listen, this is the politics that is happening today. It is insane, and it's always going to stay insane to that point. Your thoughts?
I'll let someone else go first, and then I'll add my 2 cents. Sorry.
Anybody else?
Okay, maybe I'll go first. I'm just. It seems like we've been talking about this acquisition forever. I mean, it's been going on. I keep going, what is this thing still going on? Are people still talking about this? We've been talking. It feels like it's been years that we've been talking about, whether these guys will merge or not, and the details of it. I mean, why is this taking so long? What is going on? It just seems to be crazy. I thought this was done months ago.
Well, no, it's basically it is done, but the thing is, it still has to go through regulatory approval. It's always a situation where the government's got to come in, and it's not only the U.S. government; it's governments around the world, because you have Warner and Paramount; they have their situations in other places. Dean just said he just got HBO Max. Now Paramount. Do you have Paramount, Dean, by you?
Yes. I'm currently subscribed to them. I had a great deal to watch the new Naked Gun movie, which I thought was good. Not quite the originals, but it wasn't bad. However, what Prime have done over here, and I don't know if it's the same for you, Prime offer a lot of bolt-on subscription services. So Paramount Plus is one of those bolt-ons. I pay £5 a month for it. Mm-hmm. In fact, I paid a lot less with the deal I had for 3 months. And it's great because it just forms part of my Prime package, all in one interface.
Yeah, Amazon offers that here too, with a lot of different other streaming sites on there. Our post will be right back. Don't worry, for everybody. He'll be right back. He's having some computer problems. Nonetheless, it's when you have these two companies come together, you're going to have other countries going to start sticking their nose into the situation, and most of these companies are not well liked overseas, to that point that, some of their regulatory situations are, starting to find them, or they basically starting to block them. And certainly, in Australia, you have that situation out there where they've blocked some of these streaming sites as well. And same thing in Russia, same thing in China. China has their own version of Warner Paramount on its, I forgot the Bilbo, whatever the hell it is called. It's nothing like this to that point. But, like I said, the politics comes in and ruins it. It's like you're at a party and the party pooper shows up, at the last minute. They go, "Hey, everybody." I said, "Oh God, it's Jerry. He's back again." You don't want Jerry at the party. He always brings down the party, and that's what's happening.
It kind of reminds me of the Microsoft Netscape thing. Right?
Oh God, yes.
Back when Microsoft started bundling Internet Explorer directly with, and it was this big regulatory. Well, by the time the lawsuits finally dropped, and was finally a decision, it didn't matter because Netscape was dead and had been dead for years. It what a waste of time. And I don't even remember what what
The outcome is
what the outcome
Microsoft was not allowed to make the internet browser an integral part of the OS and operatable without it. So Microsoft had to kind of detach Internet Explorer. They renamed it Edge to allow you to have other browsers, other choices, without pushing theirs as the only one that was truly integrated with their system. So it did lead to some freedom. I think Firefox kind of took on the fight after that, because Firefox was banging the drum that, you should be given a choice of browsers when you boot up and install Windows for the first time. And I believe you actually do that now. So when you connect to the internet, it gives you, you might connect through Edge to begin with, but it gives you, I think that one of the first pages you land on is, which browser would you like to install?
Yeah, Edge still installs on my machine, and it's a pain to get rid of it. And it often will be if certain Windows, if you click on a link to like a Windows help feature or something, it'll automatically load it up into Edge, even though it's not your chosen primary browser. So there's still a little bit of shenanigans and stuff going on.
There always will be with Microsoft. They'll always try and find ways around it. However, talking of all this stuff, Snob, I think you raised a good point, which is this has been in the pipeline for a long time, and you've got a ticking fee that they put in on this deal, which means if these governments begin to drag their heels, if US lawmakers begin to bang the drum on certain things and begin to slow down the process, it's going to cost Paramount even more to buy out Warner Brothers. You're talking, what is it, starting on September 30th, an extra 25 cents on the share price per quarter until the deal is agreed.
And that runs up. You might think that's not a lot. It is a lot.
Oh yeah.
And when you get that, it's it's like you go to the restaurant and you get that that check at the end. And you're like, yeah, we had a great meal and all that. And say, what does it cost?
Yeah. Well, at the moment they've agreed $31 per share. So for every year this deal is delayed beyond end of September, it's another $1 on that share price.
Yeah. I said this is going to go on until 2027. This is.
So you could be
lucky
looking
we
at
get through
least
halfway through
$1.
2027, and it'll go through regulatory.
Yeah,
to that point, it's an election. Remember, it's an election year, and considering now all the lawsuits and everything like that, the Google lawsuits, the Netflix lawsuits. I wouldn't be surprised if Paramount goes through a couple of lawsuits itself. November's around the corner. It's not that far. We're just getting into the summer, and the November elections here in the U.S. are just around the corner. And of course, what's going to happen is we're going to go through those elections. Everything's fine, and then boom, all those lawsuits either get settled or disappear. And this is the game they play. It's the game that's always happened when it comes to regulatory. To point, you mentioned the Microsoft stuff. Someone joked around, a comedian one time. He says, back in my day, internet used to be on a CD. He goes like, wait a minute, how did you get the internet on a CD? It's like, well, yeah, you put the internet, you put the CD in your computer, and basically there you got your internet.
Yeah, because I think AOL back in those days was its own web browser, if I'm not mistaken. Because you didn't really have anything in, I think it was Windows 3.11. You probably had in Windows then 95. It would have been. Yeah, you didn't have integrated browsers, the internet quite literally came on a CD.
AOL was, to connect with AOL came that. I've got about 20 AOL CDs in my house. I use them as coasters. Is it kind of like,
I think I still have 3 or 4.
A science fiction themed coaster, sort of little sciencey theme. But anyway, AOL was basically a big BBS, right?
Yeah.
And they had all their stuff on there. And then, of course, the net itself quickly took that over and added way more stuff than AOL could ever possibly put in. And of course, it died.
Yeah. AOL died with the rest, like everything else that's come up. MySpace, Netscape, all these companies came and went.
And that's why sometimes I'm a little skeptical when people, say about, oh, this is, bad for this and that, and they're going to take over the world type of thing. Now that can happen, but I remember, there used to be a company called AOL Time Warner, and it was not called Time Warner, AOL. AOL was first for a reason, because it was the biggest of that. It was a huge company. Blockbuster, AOL. I mean, these are companies that cease to exist. So, I agree there has to be, we should be concerned somewhat, but sometimes I think some of the concern is overblown, and that's kind of based on the past. But we should still be vigilant.
It's always a change. When there's always a change when it comes to technology, a change, everybody always freaks out. To the point. Like I said, I go back to the public access days. It was Manhattan Cable TV. Then it became AOL, Time Warner situations on there. And we had to deal with them badly. To the point where we had to, some of the content creators back then, they had to go to court because basically Time Warner was messing around with their businesses, and they put to a point where, let's put it this way. Say, for example, today, and you wanted to see something on OnlyFans or Rumble or a particular website, and Microsoft sends you a card that says, fill this card out and we'll allow you to have access to those websites. Would you sign that? Anybody?
No.
Yeah.
I don't think so.
Because it's got nothing to do with Microsoft.
Exactly.
But I understand what you're saying. It's a company who just is a facilitator, suddenly deciding that they are going to be more than a facilitator and actually start to decide whether you can or can't or record. Yeah. I think Sky. I'm trying to remember now. I think it wasn't Sky. It was Virgin Media, who became NTL Virgin. So it's Virgin Media. So I'm thinking back, this is around about 2010, 2011. They were tracking what their customers were accessing and then contacting some porn sites that were hosting, or rather making a note that these customers were accessing pornography that was copyright, and then contacted the owners of the copyright and did a mass lawsuit against a load of their customers, saying that you'd accessed copyright material in the pornographic industry and you need to pay. And they were trying to sue the customers. So, of course, huge fallout. They lost a load of customers over that. And it didn't really go anywhere because you had people going, well, prove I actually did it. You got these records, but how do you know it was me, the bill holder, who did that? It could have been anybody in my family.
Yeah, we had that happen here. First they went after the customers, and that went to court. And the court was like, "You got to be kidding me!" They laughed about the court. And then just as of recently, two major companies from the Midwest, basically they lost lawsuits. It went to SCOTUS, and SCOTUS said, because they were telling these companies, you got to tell us these people. You got to tell them not to do it, or if they continue to do it, you have to basically close their account. So basically, SCOTUS found that unconstitutional and says, no, you can't do that. You can't do that because you don't know who is actually using it. Because if someone has their internet access open and, they're watching Paramount or so illegally, how do you know it's them? How do you know it's not the neighbor? How do you know it's not the guy down the road or someone who drove by?
I'm reminded of there was a show that Kathy Bates. It was called Murphy's Law. She's a lawyer, and this person gets arrested for CP. But it turns out their internet is, like you just said, man. Their internet's open, and it's the neighbor down that lives in the apartment below them looking into this. And Dean, you almost got to the point. I think I might be stretching what you said. It gets to the point, the distinction between publisher and platform.
Yeah.
And
I think you're spot on there, Outpost. Yeah.
And I was just talking to a guy yesterday on my friend Digger 420's show, who he's big into 3D printing. And there was recently a company, I want to ask him more about this next time I talk to him, but he's about to go on vacation for a few weeks. It is a 3D printing company that was actually tracking what they were printing on their 3D printers that got into so much trouble because he said, just like you just said, how do you know it was me? My 3D printers in my garage, someone could come in and print something off dangerous. You don't know if that was me or not. You can't prove it was me. It's that kind of thing. It's what they can prove and what they cannot prove. And
Well,
they can't prove a
recently
lot.
I saw a brief article that they want to do the 3D printers is what they're doing to regular printers these days. You know, a more responsive connectivity that they're watching what people are doing. It's like, for example, if you try to counterfeit money on a printer, they know you're doing it. The printer will deny you from doing that. Or basically, if you're using certain type of ink, it'll deny you from using that certain type of ink. You know, because you didn't buy it directly. Like Hewlett Packard is notorious for that. Now they want, you know, you got to the point where I think they have like a membership. You buy their printer, and if you don't pay their monthly, they shut your printer down.
Yeah, it's a subscription fee, basically.
Yeah,
You're charging people
exactly.
per page. It looks
Yeah,
like that they're going to go towards. No one's going to buy an HP printer anymore.
No.
Oh
No,
god,
They,
no.
I've been
they,
out of
But
they
HP.
suck anyway. They
Yeah.
suck anyway. They've been coasting for 20 years on the quality aspect, and they've been crapping out their printers since then. But
you say that. My mum loves the HP printing stuff. There's this True Ink or whatever it's called, because she just wants to know she pays something monthly and she can print X number of pages and the ink will arrive without her having to do anything. So I think there is a customer out there, and it's my mum.
Well,
They
I've
got
gone
one
through
for
3 or
sure.
4 printers within a year from Hewlett Packard that have failed to the point. And
That goes to what I
now
said
I'm using a brother.
earlier.
I'm using a brother now, and the brother works good.
Yeah. Talking of 3D
That's what I said.
printing, there are currently laws being proposed or going through the proposal to force 3D printers to monitor what you're printing. And if you print anything illegal, like a gun part or something like that, it will shut down the printer. So this is currently happening in the UK and the US.
Yeah,
Americans aren't going to stand for that, are they?
Well,
no, they've already
this
already
is being
fought for
proposed.
the
So
freaking gun one before. So basically, you know, we're just going to see another round of this situation.
it's to force the manufacturer to put safeguards in place. So instantly, your printer has to be online. They will know what you're doing with it. There will always be this connectivity. It's just yeah.
But before we get into the next round of the next subject matter that we want to talk about, first of all, I want to tell everybody out there, thank you for those who have subscribed, liked, share our show, the shows, and all the other programmings that we recommend on there. If you haven't yet, join the Asylum. Yes, that's right. Join us on there. Right now, you can do super chats. We do memberships, thank yous. We do have our merch shop, which is listed below. There you can click on. We're working on an entire new line of shirts. Very soon we'll probably put them up either by the summer or by the fall. We're just tweaking around a lot of stuff on there. So plus there's been a lot of going on here as far as the shows themselves. Because we're trying to get up the new anime show. We're trying to get that together on there, and that's coming soon. Hopefully we'll get that up and going by the fall. But yeah, once again, thank you for those on there. If you're over on Rumble, please do subscribe. If you're here on YouTube and you have a Rumble account, please take a moment, go over and subscribe to us there. You know the shenanigans that is going on, the in-fight dramas and stuff like that, the lawsuits that are coming. You know, we don't know if YouTube's going to be around anymore. We don't know that. So basically, go over to Rumble. You know, hit us up on there. You know, so at least you know when our content hits. Pretty much all of our videos and stuff like that, and special Rumble only exclusive videos will be coming to that site as well. Stuff that we can't talk about here on YouTube. All right. Thank you very much for it. But we've reached almost to the top of the hour. Guess what time is it, gentlemen?
It's that asylum time.
Top of the hour.
Time for the asylum moment. Yes. Okay, wait, we'll back that up. Oops. There is a site on X called Haunted AI. Really good. You know, a lot of people complain about the AI, including one of our own, Jason over at Sci-Fi for Me TV situation. But in my thought is that there are people out there that utilizes this to bring out either weird stories or good stories that maybe you might think says, maybe this should be our next movie. Maybe this, and not everyone can go to Hollywood and make a movie, but you can do something here on the internet. And a lot of some of the guys here on the internet are working on movies on YouTube and that, and some other great stuff. Now, I'm going to give you a little bit of haunted AI, which is some creepy AI content that you expect from this.
Oh, you've been such a naughty boy, haven't you? It's time for you to pay for all those bad things you did.
And and this is at least the tamest for the situation, because there's some other stuff I couldn't even play here that you can go see it on X. But
my last girlfriend before I met my wife.
I want to give you one more. I'll give you one more before we click away on this.
Hey, do you think I'm pretty?
Yes, you're really pretty.
Aw, thank you. That makes me so happy.
Kiss me!
Well, that was even worse.
Can we go back to the horror?
Yeah, go back to the girl with her face with the tentacles. That's much more.
Yeah. Much nicer.
We have it linked in the description below for those of you who are interested in there. Also, to help his program, he's on Buy Me a Cup of Coffee. I also listed that below there. Do check it out. There are some other ones that are really creepier, but the content itself, it's good. This is what, like I said, this is what you could do with AI. This is really, truly what you could do with AI. I mean, this stuff is really good. If you look at it to certain perspectives, and there are others that they have science fiction. We've had out of context AI on here. In fact, he has a new music video coming, so we're going to try to bring that soon on there. He's got a great new music video with Hardcore Fenton Mudd from Star Trek, which I just saw the other night. Really funny on that. So we'll be bringing that very soon on there. What do you think, gentlemen?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a big, super big fan of AI, but I don't want it to take over everything, but I do primarily see it as a tool, just like these video editors, cheap video editors allowed people like us to edit our own videos, put them on YouTube, that sort of thing. It's a tool for filmmakers who are like one guy in his basement. He can actually put out a film that looks almost as good as a Hollywood production. And, I really do believe it's a tool for, another tool, another step in the evolution to allow people the more freedom to be creative.
Anyone else?
Off you go, Outpost. After you.
I feel that as long as you're honest, like, hey, I'm using AI to do this, then it should be okay. All my clips, all my intros are AI. I like the songs, I wrote the lyrics, but I used AI to add music to them. The thing, it allows so many more people to share their creativity. There's there's a couple of AI Facebook pages that I follow. One of them, what he does is he takes characters from 80s and 90s TV shows, and he does a segment on them. He's done a bunch of GI Joes. He's done a bunch. He's done Cobras. He's done he's done Mask. He's done all these great shows. And then there's another one. What he does is it's all Power Rangers, and he does what Zords could have been, or the power armor of these different types of Rangers. They have Zord mode where pieces of their Zords become their armor. It takes these ideas and it just shows what they could be, but they're not making any money off of them, to my knowledge at least. And that's where I think The problem comes in when you start trying to pass it off as your own work and not being honest where
Well,
it comes from.
Well, that's the problem, and that's the problem with what
Yeah.
I said as well. Is that AI is taking. It's not you're creating something new with AI. Sure, maybe, but AI is going on the on the network, scrubbing a bunch of stuff, pulling a bunch of stuff from all kinds of other people who made the original work, and then mashing it up into something and putting it in there. So it is in that sense. It's creative how you use it perhaps, but it is basically taking the work of other original content of other people and putting it together somehow in order to make quote new content. The other side of that coin is that there is nothing new, right? Every story there are 7 story archetypes, and every story is based on that, but it's just a different version of that. So I mean, it's how far do you want to go with that? How much how much is too much? And if I think you could probably say, oh, if you use GI Joe characters, that's obviously too much. But what if I take GI Joe characters and make them in a different animation style? Is that still copyright? Am I still taking their stuff? I don't know. It gets a little fuzzy.
I think it is very, very, very fuzzy, and I agree with you, Snob. AI is definitely a tool to be used. It's no different to when artists went from sort of physical media to computer media and stuff like that. And we've got that with AI, where you will have someone who creates the art themselves, and it will stand out as human-made art. And you've got people who use AI to create art, and that stands out as AI art. And I agree with Outpost there, which is so long as you're honest and upfront, and you say, I use AI and this is AI art, I've got no problems with it. I think the broader discussion of how these engines got trained, I think that's probably not one we can take now, because that's where a lot of the accusations come in. It's theft of other people's property to train the engines to allow them to do what they do. And I think that there's a lot more nuance to that, because everybody's been copying everybody else since year one. You just look at Hollywood, Armageddon, Deep Impact. Just one snapshot of where a Earth-ending meteor's about to strike the Earth film, and 2 films come out, and
Yes,
it happens
yes.
all the time.
There is
but
a
that's
company. Sorry, Dean, to go off that. I'm sorry to interrupt. To go off that, there is
That's
a
okay.
company called the production company called the Asylum. They do just that. If a big, and they're funny movies, they're great movies, but they're complete ripoffs of that season's big blockbuster movies. Like when Thor came out, they came out with a movie called The Almighty Thor. They've had like Cyclone when Twister was they do these things, but it's almost like it's not like they're stealing, it's just like they're taking a concept that's popular and making it different enough, I guess I could say, is the only.
Well,
Yeah.
Okay,
you
well,
had the Seven Samurai, which became the Magnificent Seven, which
Mhm.
Yeah.
became Battle Beyond the Stars, and so on and so on and
which
so
became
on.
the re-release of the Magnificent Seven.
And the TV Magnificent Seven, the TV series.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Magnificent's a plot line in Kung Fu: The Legend Continues. And it's always it's a constant recycling of a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Now, back when I was in
wait
trade
a sec
school,
though. But
Go ahead.
Dean is completely off. Like Dean's completely off. The premise is completely off. Deep Impact, Armageddon. One of those movies was about an asteroid hitting the Earth. The other was about a comet hitting the Earth. Those are totally
Oh
different
God!
things.
Sorry. I
Totally
stand
different. I mean, they're
corrected.
not the
Right.
same at all.
We're the biggest country
Comet.
I've ever
One was
seen.
about a bunch of miners. I think though, the people who use AI to create art, the ones that will start to stand out are the ones that create truly unique AI art. So it's not based on other people's works beforehand. They find a way of blending sort of their sort of creativity into the engine, and bringing that to the engine, possibly even doing their own sort of rough drawings, and then let the AI engine bring that to life. So it becomes truly something unique to them. And I think those are the kind of people that will stand out. How many of us are so creative, but we lack the skills to create, but our imaginations are there, and this gives us the toolkit to bring that imagination alive.
And imagine if you were good at drawing and you could draw your original stuff, but there's
Yeah.
no way that you by yourself could turn those drawings into an animated, hour and a half length movie without the shooting and the drawing, like all that, without some sort of assistance. So that will allow, in a sense, to be able to do that. So I'm interested to see that. But the other part of it is, like, you mentioned earlier, Dean, it's very obvious now when it's original art versus AI art, but that line is going to blur. We can even see, like I've mentioned this before, I think on this show, but 2 years ago, we would, they would make a person, you go, that's AI art because they had 6 fingers, and where's the guy's leg? That doesn't attach properly. But we don't see those problems anymore. 2 years later, a lot of that
still
stuff.
do.
Every time there's a new company a new AI system comes out, it's better than the last.
I agree
You
with
got
that.
Gemini,
Yeah.
and it becomes Dance 2.0, then 4.0, and it continues on and on.
And it's only 2 years, right? Like, that's a very
Exactly.
short amount of time.
Actually, within a couple of months.
Yeah, every couple months, 6 months, you're seeing, noticeable improvements. Now, that could simply be because we're at the very early part of it. We used to have computers would, the speeds would double every 18 months, and now we don't have that anymore. We've hit the
It's
limit.
literally,
So that might go down a bit, but we'll see,
I've heard it said that if you went to the store right now and bought the top of the line, best computer you could, by the time you walked out the door with it in your hands, it would be obsolete.
No, that's not.
No,
it's still very usable. Yeah.
I'm not saying it's useful. I'm not saying it's not useful, but it's not the best top of the line you could buy.
Yeah, but that's like saying, I go into a car room show, a showroom, and I buy a Ferrari, and then a new Ferrari comes straight off the line with slight modifications, and so mine's obsolete. I think, I agree with Snob. The advancement of technology isn't the leaps it used to be. You buy that computer, you go out the shop. Yes, there's going to be something better, but that better computer is only going to be slightly, very minusculely better than the one you've got. To the point, it doesn't matter.
I'm referring to Moore's Law, and we thought that was the one forever.
Moore's Law.
And Moore's Law has basically been proven to, we've hit the manufacturing limitations, at the nanometer scale, where we cannot keep up with Moore's Law anymore. Now there could be a breakthrough in, we're quantum computing. We could, get away from silicon, and we could see a breakthrough in that, and then you could see that Moore's Law come back in again, perhaps. But right now we are, Moore's Law has been proven to be, at least for now, isn't going to go on forever.
No. See, when I was in technical school, trade school back in the day for production, basically we were taught linear editing, editing together episodes of Gunsmoke that they've taken. They had cuts on there, and we learned it. But then we moved on. Like, one of the guys that hi PB, how you doing? One of the things that the final that someone did in our group, basically they took Raiders of the Lost Ark, and using the early version of nonlinear and also MIDI and all those other computer systems that were very new in that day, they completely changed the entire sound effects and music tracks. That basically it became a different sounding movie, including the punches and the Foley, everything. They did it from beginning to end of the movie. That was their final. Basically they presented that as their final. They passed. They did a fantastic job. And since then, they were using it to show other students what you can do, with those systems back then. And you got to remember, these were Media 100s and everything that was on. In fact, New York was the center of nonlinear editing back in the day. They had the first ones in the studios out here. One company, Spielberg, Lucas, all of them used to make appointments to use those systems until those systems they were able to buy one, have one of their own, and the units got cheaper and cheaper as the years went on. And now, listen, we have it in our own laptops and computers today. And the thing about it is, even back then, people were saying, "Oh, it's going to change. It's going to put people out of work, and this is going to be too advanced to be able to do things that it's going to be bad." And it's the same thing with AI now. AI is a new technology. It's a tool, and you got to treat it as a tool. Will people use it badly? Yeah, that's going to happen with any technology.
Well, I mean, it will.
The cell phone, the VCR, any of those technologies have been used
It
badly.
will put some people
in
out of
history.
work. I mean, if you fail to be able,
But it will train
yeah,
you
if
to
you
do other
if you
things.
fail to learn the new system, then you'll be out of work, right? It's just just like with computer programming. Oh, this language isn't used anymore. You go on to the next one, etc. So you do have to adapt. There's always going to be some job loss, but it's part of we don't have a lamplighters union anymore. We don't. The buggy whip industry is as ceased to exist. I mean, that's technology. But just before I go on, I'm just going to put a little link there in the chat here for Dean. This is a link to a NASA video explains the difference between comets and asteroids. So just it's very short, it's only a minute and 25 seconds.
Mighty.
But if you need to,
I thank you so much for that, Stob. I really appreciate your effort and diligence in educating me on the difference.
We're all
between...
about learning here.
Yes, absolutely.
Learning Academy.
Yeah. Before we move on from AI,
my God,
though, I think we're in a very unsettled place with AI. We're focusing on the sort of fun side of AI, creating images, animation, and stuff like that. And as a tool, I think it's going to open a lot of doors to allow a lot more people to create. But I think the whole concept of AI, that there's a lot of other stuff with AI that is still unsettled. I think it's been oversold into companies who've got rid of tens of thousands of coders, and then have ended up in trouble because the code generation of AI just isn't quite there yet. There are problems. There were outages with Amazon, and that was down to poor AI coding being put into release into live environment. So I think a lot of businesses have been oversold what AI can actually do. That it can do everything, and it's not. It is a tool, and it's to augment what we can do, allow us to do more with less, which is why there will naturally be job losses. And my biggest concern with this is you've got this overpromise. You've got a lot of AI companies with billions and billions in debt. If they don't deliver, and they start to go bankrupt, or the bubble starts to burst, what happens to AI tools in general? Because when those data centers suddenly don't have the money to keep running and chewing up all that power and water, what happens next?
Would you see another kind of like .com bust? You remember that .com bubble bust?
Yeah. It's got all the hallmarks of something like that. Overpromised, investors told they were going to get a ton of money back, and when you've got this, you've been told this is what can be delivered, and then the reality isn't quite matching. The moment the investors get cold feet and start to pull out their funding or move away, then the bubble bursts. And if those companies then go bankrupt, some of the big ones, you just look at the fiasco we had on chips. I'm trying to remember who it was. They bought up all the chips, and then they went, okay, we don't need them, and put them back on the market.
Yeah, they bought up all this manufacturing space, and everyone's talking about there'll be no computer gamers, there'll be no graphics cards for 3 years because they'll all be going to AI. And then the guy's like, I don't need them anymore. Sorry, all those billions of dollars, I'm not going to spend them.
Well, we got some breaking news. We got some breaking news for Snob. James says, considering about your asteroids versus comets, one starred Bruce Willis, the other didn't.
That's true, but Tia Leone was the other one. I mean,
Dave puts out, how soon before we get an AI cam tool show?
Cam is already AI.
Yes, Cam is an AI that I invented. You guys don't know that, but
and Jay's like, Cam is in danger of being obsolete.
My whole life.
I feel. I want to say this before we move on. I feel like we're kind of in the same environment. Remember when we went from hand-drawn animation to computer CGI animation? Like, how many of those people, those hand-drawn animators, probably like, oh, this is going to take our job. It's going to ruin our industry. And It hasn't.
No,
Well,
it
well, it
hasn't.
did to a certain extent.
Actually, those type of animation, there's some guys out there that have been creating the 1980s anime style, which
Yeah.
a lot of people, a lot of anime fans want to see again.
Yeah, I prefer the older style too. But you have to admit though, there are way less people doing that now than there were back in the day. So there is an effect for sure.
Well, you know, in the anime world, it's not really that way.
Animation.
It's basically they're looking for people at this point. It's not. They don't have. Even though we have the AI and they have embraced some AI, they still need that human touch that the Japanese artist has always brought to Japanese. That's why Japanese anime has always been very popular since going all the way back to the 60s. Because that style is an art style, and you can't just let a computer do it. You got to tell the computer what exactly you want in what detail. I've tried to do an 80s aesthetic look, and I still can't even get it there. It's been very difficult to do that.
One D&D group that I follow on YouTube is Legends of Adventurous. Love those guys. They have done such amazing work, and they recently released it's called Neon Odyssey. It's a new setting. It's space, like 70s 80s feeling, like Miami Vice kind of stuff. And one of the big selling points, if you look up their handbook, it's this was drawn and rendered without the use of AI. That's one of their big selling points. And I'm thinking, great, but what about those of us that can't draw? I mean, it goes back to that idea that I was saying earlier. Those of us who can't do it but still want to create. That's like I go and make D&D figures on Hero Forge. Am I guilty of using AI? I'm using someone else's computer generated, or it's not computer generated. It's 3D rendered asset. Am I guilty of using of cheating?
Well, no, because you're doing it under license by Hero Forge. If you got hold of, if someone took a Warhammer 40k figure and then they scanned it and they created a mesh and gave you the mesh and then you 3D printed it, that would be you effectively stealing someone else's IP and printing and creating a copy of it.
Yeah, exactly.
Games Workshop. Yeah. And yet no one has really kicked up that much of a fuss about 3D printers.
Well, we'll put a pin in that for now. Let's move on to the next subject, even though this is just as important on there. And I think this is also very important. We've had situations in the on this show, on Cafe and my videos, we've discussed about what's going on in the anime universe. And we just started discussing a little bit of the 80s stuff on there. Now, Crunchyroll for the longest has held the top tier as far as anime in the West and in some European countries, except with the exception like in Asia, which Crunchyroll doesn't have a hold on there. Not as of yet, but I don't think that's going to happen, especially in Japan, that they're going to keep them out. But as of late, and we've been seeing this slowly but surely, and I said this in a lot of videos, Netflix is overtaking Crunchyroll. Crunchyroll has gone into a lot of major issues. You're talking, they have two major lawsuits coming as far as that, from on basically data being sold and data being stolen. Basically, they have had situations where their localization, their translations have been awful. They haven't been on target to the script to that point. Now, is Netflix better? It depends. It depends onto the situation. But Netflix has put out a good amount, and they've been bringing in a lot more anime faster than what Crunchyroll has been as of late. But I'm going to read a little bit on this on the global part end. Netflix has surpassed Crunchyroll as the leading platform for anime streaming in most major markets outside Japan and China, according to a new global report. The findings come from GEM Partners' 2026 Anime Global White Paper, which surveyed around 15,000 people across 15 countries to analyze anime viewing habits worldwide. According to the report, Netflix ranked as the most popular platform for anime in 7 out of 9 key regions, including the United States, the United Kingdom, Germany, France, and Brazil. The shift marks a significant moment in the industry as Crunchyroll has long been considered the primary destination for dedicated anime fans due to existing catalogs and simulcast offerings on there. Netflix's growing dominance is also supported by its internal data, with the company previously revealing that more than half of its global subscribers now watch anime content on their platform. While Crunchyroll still offers a large overall library of anime titles, Netflix has focused on high profile exclusive originals to strengthen their positions. Series like Cyberpunk Edge Runners, Devilman Crybaby, attracting wider audience beyond the traditional anime fans, which technically that's the way that this industry should have been going in the West itself. But Sony wasn't doing that. They were doing the same game as they were doing with video games itself. And you look to the perspective that let me bring this up. Come on. Damn, Restream's slow today. Crunchyroll itself has surpassed 21 million global paid subscribers. Now, Dean, how much did you say that Netflix has?
They were saying around about 300 million.
Big major difference. 300 million versus 21 million subscribers.
And I believe that report you're referring to, they estimate 150 million viewers in Netflix watch anime exclusively. Mm-hmm. So 150 compared to 21 million Crunchyroll.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I've seen, I watched some of the stuff on there. In fact, what is it? Devilman Cry just launched season 2 today. And is it Devilman Cry? Yeah, Devilman Cry.
Yeah.
And a bunch of others are coming into there. Even some of the big stuff, Mushoku Tensei, some of the originals, Yu Yu Hakusho, and a lot of the others, a lot of the classics. What is it? I'm trying to remember the one. There was one particular one that was coming out, but I'll get it later. But they're getting a new season on there. The Slime series, a lot of that stuff is coming over to Netflix and skipping over Crunchyroll, or it's on both streaming services, and people are more coming over to Netflix versus Crunchyroll, to the point, because Crunchyroll has alienated so many people to that point, and it's gotten go ahead, Outpost.
I've been itching since you brought this up. If one thing that they did early on, and I know I might be stretching with this, they brought when Crunchyroll acquired Funimation, they did not get rid of any of those bad actors in Funimation.
Actually, it was the reverse. It was Funimation's acquired Crunchyroll, because Sony owned Funimation's and they bought Crunchyroll. Sorry to correct you there.
If they got rid of that whale of a bitch, Monica Rial, Sean Schimmel, these are big names. I know they'll never get rid of. But if I had a Christmas wish, it would that these assholes never worked a day in the animation industry again. You had their script writers literally writing in like woke SJW storylines into the English versions of the shows. Like you said, they were going off script. That alienated a ton of people during all that early debacle with the Vic stuff, and I still refuse to. It's hard to watch English anime and not hear those voices because they're so big, but so it makes it. I wish I think they would have been. I think they would have saved face a lot by getting rid of some of these people when it came out, what the horrible things they have said about the fans, about their coworkers, about the genre in general. Sean Schimmel is one of the. I've heard leaks from him. There was a huge drop of. I think it's on my old laptop. Damn it! Of him in the booth at Funimation saying some of the most horrible, racist shit you've ever heard, most sexualized, sexist thing, and he's still the voice of Goku.
Yep. I think they're going to be phasing him out eventually on that. PB mentions, correct me if I'm wrong, but after Hanna-Barbera got pushed out, hasn't all Western anime been outsourced to Japan studios? No, actually, well, Hanna-Barbera has opened studios in the United Kingdom. I know that for a fact that they have a UK division there now since the changeovers at Warner. But most animations, there are still some U.S. localizers. A lot of it's outsourced to either France, parts of Asia, including Korea, Japan, sometimes. Not as much as you think. I think more Korea that you see it because it is cheaper to do it in Korea than it is in Japan.
Korea. Seth MacFarlane said a lot of their animation is done in like South Korea. That's why if you look at the food, it looks that the Griffin's table, it looks like just mush because they don't understand what American food looks like. Really, this was years ago though.
Saturday, PB also says Saturday morning cartoons changed the way they looked after 1982 to 83. Well, you got to remember also, PB, it was Congress that pushed out the Saturday morning cartoons by law. People say, well, it's because of this, no, mostly it was because of censorship that they were trying to do on Saturday morning because they were trying to push the perspective that kids needed more education on television. They were already getting it. They were getting it through PBS. They were getting it through Saturday morning cartoons, but basically they just killed the Saturday morning cartoon for kids that way, that they said, no, we don't need it. We don't need it at all.
It's like if you look at at Super Friends, they never punch. They never actually make contact. It's the silliest, stupidest thing. And that was because Congress was like, oh, these kind of shows are too violent. We can't have our kids watching them. Congress being pushed by those parent organizations. A prime example of 90s version of that is in the second or third season. I can't remember when. I've mentioned this before. When Lord Zed premiered on the Power Rangers, he was like that first shot of him on his throne. He's got the snake wrapped around him. The vessels are just pumping blood through him. His brain is throbbing. He's scary. He's a bad guy. He made you like think, holy crap, are the Power Rangers going to be able to stop this monster? The parent organizations had a fit. So the next season, they made him just like this jovial fool of a guy. It's been like that.
Yeah, it's been like that for a long time. Even with the early days of Japanese anime in the 70s and 80s, most people don't realize Speed Racers, Star Blazers, Robotech, Battle of the Planets, all those shows were edited down. They were censored heavily. Robotech is the perfect example. They took those 3 seasons of Robotech are not 3 seasons of Robotech. They are 3 individual stories separate from each other, because it's still in that universe, but in different places. Most people are like, oh, the second season of Robotech, the Robotech Masters, it's on Earth. No, it's not on Earth. It's on another planet. Because it doesn't look nothing like Earth. And they said, well, Earth must have been destroyed badly, and it's like a dust world. No, it's not that way. To that point, they took a lot of it. I mean, perfect example: season 1 of Robotech. Lisa, the commanding officer. Her character was basically dumbed down, similar to what they've done at 4 Kids. She lost her husband years ago during the war, and she was an emotional wreck for many years, including when you get to the beginning of Robotech. She was a heavy smoker. She had emotional problems to the point. That's why she when her and Rick Hunter were the way they were, and you're wondering why were they like that? It's because basically she didn't want to let him in, her life because of those situations. And it was the same thing with Volker when he died in the series. For those of you who haven't watched it, sorry if I ruined it for you. Roy Volker dies
40 years
horribly.
later.
He bleeds out in the series, and it just literally in the American version, Robotech, he just drops dead. That's it. He just right on the sofa. But in the original cut, he's bleeding the hell out to the point, and they could not show that on American television. And then you go to Star Blazers, most of the bridge crew die in the series, and the bridge crew was the way the people were like, ugh. I said, oh, they just knocked out. That's the way they put it. And I'm surprised they Captain Avatar, they allowed him to die in the series also. But also the other part of it is in Star Blazers, they destroyed an entire civilization. Most people don't realize that. And this was done by Harmony Gold. This was done by Sandy Frank and a lot of other Western companies to that point. Fast forward to 2026. We're still getting the same thing, but in different ways. Basically the localizers are changing the dubbings. They're changing some of the edit cuts. Like in China, they turn red blood into white, whatever white liquid that it is.
Sanji smoking is turned into a lollipop.
Yeah, exactly.
So stupid.
It is. And you see this time after time after time. And it's hard to get the original Macross series, Super Dimensional Fortress.
I was going to ask if there's a place I could watch that.
You'll have to go yo ho, yo ho. It's literally, that's what you have to do. There are some, but they still edit it. Hulu has some of the original stuff now through Disney that they got, which hasn't been shown here, like Macross Plus and a couple of the others that hasn't been shown in the on the US side for many years now. They never got a release in the US other than like Macross Plus got a VHS subtitled Japanese version. That's about it. But you go over to I think which one was it? One of the series, they freaking edit out a whole scene over at Hulu. And it's like, you gotta be freaking kidding me. And then you hear this from Anime News Network. Crunchyroll is going to host its first anime leadership summit for the industry members on the eve of New York Comic Con on October 7th. I would love to be on a fly on the wall there. Because you know what they're going to talk about. They're going to talk about the politics of the situation. They're going to have industry leaders there, and they're going to tell them, says, no, we can't have this. We can't have girls with big breasts. We can't be talking about masculinity. We can't be doing this, that, and the other thing to the situation.
Why don't you go?
It's not open to me. It's open to members of the industry.
Well, Archie, I mean, you are a leading YouTuber on talking about anime issues.
They're not going to allow press in. They're not allowing press in, from what I understand. Believe me, I looked into it. They're not allowing press into this situation. Which leads me to believe that basically, there are going to be some shenanigans going on. This is why you have Toho has bought G Kids here in the U.S. Because basically they're getting to the point where we don't want to deal with Crunchyroll. We don't want to deal with some of the other companies. We want to put our stuff out properly. And that's what's been happening when it comes to a Toho product to that point, especially anything Godzilla related, anime related, any of their movies and stuff like that. It's, even though they're the ones who are working on the localization themselves, they're not letting third-party companies like Crunchyroll and the rest of them do this now. The only other problem we have now is Kodansha, which Kodansha has bent the knee to the localizers in the West. Any thoughts, gentlemen? Nobody?
Oh, I already shared my thoughts.
But here, I want to share this also.
I'm not sure.
Go ahead.
I'm curious. I don't know that I agree with that's what they're going to talk about at the Anime Leadership Summit. Maybe, you could be right. But it'd be very interesting to find out what exactly is on the agenda and what the deal is.
It's curious that they're
Yeah.
doing that, and this is the reason why I want to bring this up. And unfortunately, I didn't put it on the screen here. There was an article put out by CBR, which is not the greatest article writers around on there, but Netflix is officially saying goodbye to its old strategy, that they plan to change things around on how they do business with the anime distributors. Over the past decade, Netflix has risen to prominence as a major global distributor of anime content. Despite taking a relatively hands-off approach with anime originals in the past, Netflix Japanese branch is adopting a new strategy that emphasizes co-production with anime studios and fresh localization techniques. Netflix Collaborative Network, which includes high-profile studios as Studio Crunchyroll, which is Drifting You, Science Saru, which is called Dan 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 Dan, and David Productions, which is JoJo Bizarre Adventures, has allowed the company to maintain a consistent leg up when it comes to anime licensing. However, the streaming company has now decided to shift its focus away from locking down production lines toward working with the studios on a one-on-one basis while fine-tuning promotional methods for particular countries. See, that's the thing went on there when they dropped this lot of stuff, which used to be the old days. The old days of ocean dubs and all that. They used to drop in their countries properly to the shows, and that's why you go down to Brazil, you go to any of the Spanish speaking countries, and you mention Dragon Ball, and people freak the fuck out because they love that series. You have season finales that are held in parks with gigantic wide screens, big parties. When they have a season finale of Dragon Ball. The last one that just, the Dragon Ball, what was it?
Daima.
No, not Daima, the one before it.
Super.
Thank you. When they had the scene where freaking Goku and Frieza teamed up together to fight.
But badass.
That whole badass fight with Android 18 in the back, with 17 in the background.
Mm-hmm.
Which was great, and the fans were cheering. That's what these guys are looking for now. Is Netflix going to accomplish this? Time will tell, because there's some issues Netflix needs to resolve. JoJo Bizarre Adventures was one of the major problems.
I couldn't get into that show.
Yeah, I know it's a crazy show, but it's the way they've released it. But now they're looking back at it and saying, "Yeah, we messed up." So
you're suggesting that Netflix is going to do a better job of promoting these things, similar to what the suggestion about South America, that Brazil you just made? Is that,
and also US and UK? They're looking toward one-on-one basis, because the way, even broadcast television, when you're dealing with broadcast television, or even in streaming, when you're buying new shows, you go to these conventions where basically all these productions, they're showing their wares and saying, okay, this is what we got. This is what's, we have for this show. Would you like to get this show on your server, on your channel, or on your service onto that point? And this has been going on for many years now. I've attended a couple of those back in the day. It's very interesting because I had a friend of mine. He had a TV series called Martial Art Forums, which ran on the MSG network. Madison Square Garden used to have their own network, and he had a show about martial arts, martial art events, tournaments, how to, teachings and stuff like that. And we went to go promote it in Vegas at that time period, and there's so much you see there, all these other companies that are there that they're showing what they have for the next season or so, on that. Hey, Keely, how are you? How's everything? Good afternoon. Good afternoon from Huntsville there. What's going on? Well, we're talking about the Netflix being king now of the anime Western, well, pretty much global now at this point on there. We were talking about Paramount HBO Max earlier. So if you scroll back a little bit, you'll get the earlier stuff on there. But thank you for showing up. We really do appreciate that. But basically, like I said, they're selling all these shows now. Netflix is looking at it. They're not looking at it where they're going to a supermarket and buying this anime, that anime, all that. No, they're sitting with the studios. I mean, they made a deal with Mappa, which is a big studio, and Mappa has got a lot of great stuff. And if they're talking with Mappa directly now, instead of sending a third party to buy their stuff, there probably going to be some changes coming to basically on that. We've already seen Netflix is now become superior numbers wise. But here's the other half of the situation with Crunchyroll. And this is as of late. If you guys haven't known about this, they're pulling stuff out. These 4 titles have been pulled: Death Parade, Claymore, Parasite, 91 Days. I've never seen 91 Days. I've seen the other 3. Claymore, very hard to get on Blu-ray. The other 2 you could probably still find. Now, as of the last 24 hours, 86 has been pulled from full streaming. You cannot get, even on Netflix. Netflix had it for a bit. Crunchyroll has pulled, 86 from it to a Great War series onto there. To the point, here's where it got crazy within the last 24 hours. Go to get it right now on Blu-ray. And here's the issue. It's already sold out. People have taken upon themselves to buy it immediately. I say on this show, buy physical media. This is from Groove, but it's the same thing on Amazon and every other site that basically it has sold out. And that's a problem in itself. Now we got to the point where, we're going to have to go to the high seas just to get this product. But here's the other situation of it. As of late, and we have a video dropping this week. Come on. These sites have been deleted. Zorro, Kiss Anime, Hi Anime, 9 Anime, Anime Watch. All of them are gone. Well, the exception of Hi Anime. Hi Anime, I've heard they're basically transferring their servers to another server, backup server. So basically, I believe they're back up and running again. But as of late, we've lost about 15 to 20 pirated sites in the anime universe, both anime and manga, to that point. So these companies have gone after them as well. So we're becoming less available to where to watch some of this stuff. But like I said, you cut one head off, 3 more grow back.
Hail Hydra.
Yeah, Hail Hydra.
Okay, now I can see why the companies would go after the pirate sites. That makes sense. But it doesn't make sense to remove your content from, paying sites and then also go after the pirates. I mean, what you do is you go out, you put your stuff on a paying site and then you go after the pirates and get rid of them. So people have to go to the paying sites to get it. That would be the logical thing to do. Why would they remove their stuff from circulation and then, that doesn't seem to make sense, and also go after the pirates? Like,
it's been like this for the last several weeks on there. And remember, I don't know if any of you realize, probably Outpost realizes, Crunchyroll used to be a pirated site.
Yeah, but what's the strategy? Like, why would do these companies not want their content to be seen? Is there something going on?
No, this is only in the West. No, this is only in the West. As far as the Western distributors. In Japan, you could see this on their streamers.
Okay, but why would you not want the? Is there something wrong with us? We shouldn't get to see their anime.
It's a business game. It's a censorship game. If you're not familiar with Claymore tends to have a lot of controversial stuff. 86 has a lot of controversial stuff. Death Parade, they're trying to purge their systems from stuff that's questionable.
So you're suggesting Netflix and Crunchyroll are doing that?
No, not Netflix. Netflix has lost because Crunchyroll owns the rights to 86 in the West, and they leased it out to Netflix.
I've just had a look at 86, and allegedly, I don't know how true this is, the rights are listed as expired.
Yeah.
So what they're saying is Crunchyroll's rights expired with 86. And they could be in negotiations to get it renewed, or there might be another party coming in. But discussions may have fallen foul in the back rooms. But it is allegedly listed. I'm not an expert in this. I'm only going on what I've managed to dredge up on a search. But it's listed as being expired. So it's a rights expiration that has caused it to drop off the platform.
Yeah, they allowed
that's
it to lapse.
that's pretty typical. I mean, every month you'll see a bunch of Netflix movies or whatever shows come off of Netflix, and it'll usually be a rights issue. And Netflix, most of the time they'll be like, well, no one was watching this movie much anyway, so we don't care. So, I mean, I don't think that might not be the problem with 86. You're suggesting it's very popular, but I mean, yeah,
there could be a third party in the background, that is challenging Crunchyroll or pushing the price up. Crunchyroll having first refusal potentially because of the contract, but then you got this third party making that price go up until Crunchyroll gives up. So I don't know.
The Crunchyroll did allow it to lapse. Same thing with Claymore. Same thing with Death Parade and the others. They've allowed them to lapse. Those others have been gone for months now. For months, and they're it's not that they're not popular, they are popular, especially Claymore and Parasite and Death Parade. Parasite, they've made already 2 movies that have already one is overseas, the other one which was made by a Korean firm has hit Netflix on there, which it was pretty decent onto there because it made a connection to the Japanese version on that, and it happens to be a really good story. A little grotesque as far as the horror end of it, but it's it's about an alien invasion, that these aliens are coming down and they're infecting people, turning them into monsters. In other words, they're like little parasites. They enter your body, take over your mind, and turn you into these creatures to the point. And the one main character, the parasite, it failed to take over, and it just took over his hand. So he's made a deal with it to basically fight against these other creatures to the point, because those creatures will kill that particular parasite for failing on that. And it's an interesting series. It's a very interesting series in itself.
So, but we're not really sure why they're just right. Are they letting the rights lapse if they're popular? Is it just we don't know?
Well, you got to remember, it's not only the rights; it's the Blu-ray versions, the DVD a lot of them have vanished off of Amazon and all the other. I mean, you can find them on eBay, but at a high price. Double, triple, quadruple the price of what they originally were. I mean, right now, 86 is going. I think the last I saw, someone had 86 online season 1 for well over $80. And that was I was checking last night, and you saw I had the one from Groove. It was $20, from 20 to 80 to that point, and that's just only on eBay itself, because that's from an independent seller. That's not like a corporate seller or anything like that, or a corporate distributor. But
I've just had a look on Amazon and. Third party, so this is not these are people putting it back on Amazon to sell. It's from £28 and it goes right the way up to about £45.
I believe it. I mean, the site here in the US says temporary out of stock.
You can't get an original on Amazon over here either. No.
Yeah, and this has been going on for quite some time now. It's either Sony's trying to corner the market to the point and control what's being put on their site, or try to negotiate to edit down some of this stuff as well. Or like you said, like Snob said, third party might be coming in overbidding for the product. Now, who's the third party? That's the question. Is it Netflix? Is it High Anime? It's is it Viz Media? haven't heard any of this as of yet.
No. I mean, Prime are trying to muscle in. They're trying to establish themselves as a kind of anime center of excellence. So you don't know. In the background, it could be a bidding war between Netflix and Prime, or other parties. You just don't know.
Yeah, but also you have other companies that, like I said, Tokyo, Toho, and a couple others. They've opened up their own sites on YouTube, also showing free episodes as well. I mean, this stuff has been, to a problem to the point where anime around the world has been hard to get, depending on where you are, what you want to see. Like I said, the original Macross series that I've talked about that's on Hulu wasn't available in the U.S. for ever. They're just now getting to the U.S. for the first time. Galaxy Express 39 is available in the U.S. in Japanese. Never been English dubbed, ever. They just released the box set with no English dub. Dirty Pair just did a Kickstarter, which was very successful. And they were able to get, because they did a piece of it, I think it was the OVAs were English dubbed, but the series wasn't, or vice versa. They got the original actresses, the voice actresses, to go in and redub the stuff that hasn't been dubbed into English. And that you can buy it as a box set through Kickstarter, supposedly, to the bone. It's like a whole set of the entire series on there. I mean, slowly there are some companies that are trying to do the right thing, but it's still an issue. And it's also still a censorship issue as well. You have countries like Australia, Russia, even in the United Kingdom at certain points, that basically they kind of obscure out certain titles for certain reasons. And, this is where it leads to piracy. What are your thoughts, gentlemen? Cam, I haven't heard from you.
I want to know why this is going on. What's the deal? It doesn't seem to make sense.
Yeah, I don't understand why it's going on either.
Yeah, it's been insane. It's been totally insane to this point.
Why would you not want your product to get out there? You make a product, you want people to buy it and consume it.
Mm-hmm. We haven't heard from Cam. Cam, can you throw some of your great knowledge into this? Is he there? Or he might have stepped away. He was back. He might have stepped away again because he said he was going to be in and out. But all in all, it's been an issue.
I'm just gonna let me reboot the Cambot.
As I said, it's been an issue.
What if he came back on in right then and started talking right after you said that? That would have been like, holy crap.
It takes a little longer to reboot than that. Come on.
But the other funny part about this is, one thing about the Japanese is that they're very protective of their IPs, and there's a lot of guys that are on YouTube and other sites that try to show some of these anime, and they're not supposed to. But recently, I think it was Toei. Hang on, let's see, bring it up here. There we go. Yeah. They kind of flagged their own self for their own content, for showing. This is on X. They flagged themselves for showing content they own.
That's hilarious.
And this has happened more than once.
It's all those automated systems, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It's
crappy AIs.
Absolutely.
Have you not heard of a whitelist? Because a lot of these, because I've been put on some of the music I use. I purchase from companies. Royalty. I pay the fees, and sometimes I get hit by certain companies. Trying to remember the name of the company on there. And I go to them directly and I say, "Hey, listen, I pay for the fee and all that." They say, "Oh, okay, I'll put you on our whitelist," and I don't hear from them again. Because I'll get hit for the same song several times. And I said, I pay for the rights. I pay for the monthly fees to the rights to it. And I'm still getting hit. But, it's a crazy business. This is what constantly is going to happen. And as far as the anime, the war with anime is going to continue on. Whether it's, the latest I heard now is Hollywood wants to take it and make it their own, which that will never happen. You have politicians in Japan that will stop that from happening, including the new prime minister of Japan right now, who happens to be really cool, who loves a lot of heavy metal, rides bikes, and, respects the anime manga universe. And gaming also as well. And you have several politicians that will fight for people, for all these people out there to that point. But anyway, we're going to find out what happens next to this situation. Do cache our videos, and we'll probably talk more about this next week to that point. But where we are now, okay. In about 1 hour, Dean will be going live. Dean, can you tell us what's going on today?
Today we're covering world building, in particular how we came about with Kaseya, built it from the ground up, the kind of principles we've used, the layering effect, and then taking you into the starting zone, which is the Harbour Protectorate, and showing you kind of what we've done on the creation there and the world building. So quite exciting, a bit more lore when it comes to Untold Destiny, and a bit more of an understanding of the hard work that we put into it and some of the artists that have been involved.
And that's in about 1 hour.
1 hour, yes.
1 hour. I've put the link in the chat, ladies and gentlemen, so go over.
Thank you.
And check it out. Outpost, what do you got?
I'm thinking I'm going to be doing sometime this weekend a stream talking about the hero's journey. I think it's a concept that a lot of modern IPs have kind of disregarded. The idea that the hero has to overcome adversity to gain his power. And we haven't seen that, I think, in a very long time. I'm thinking about doing that.
Oh, that's good. That's
a
good.
nice
We have Outpost's link in the description below to his channel, so do go over there as well. Cam, are you there?
Yes.
What's going on the Bad News Bards this weekend?
Reboot successful.
I don't know.
Oh no,
no, I don't know.
Well, we'll still promote it. Bad News Bards this weekend, 9 p.m. Eastern. Are we going to get another 5-hour marathon again?
Probably not. I think it'll probably be restricted to I'll be restricted to 2 hours, because after that we have Top Lofty Lounge. Of course, I'll leave that to Snob, but I will mention Babylon 5 tomorrow night at
big episode
11.
Oh, it is big episode.
Yep. Season 3 finale. Zahadum.
I hate you, Dean, for taking it.
Oh, I'm sorry, Outpost.
No, you're not.
You're right. I'm not. I'm really looking forward to it. It's going to be a fantastic and amazing show. It's going to be good.
I watched it yesterday and I forgot how much I enjoyed it. So yeah, it should be fun. Yeah, thanks for having me on, man.
No, thank you for coming on there. Snob, you want to continue on there? What's going on tomorrow night?
Yeah, well, I watched the episode already. I was a little disappointed. But we'll talk about that tomorrow. You can hear about everyone else loved it. I was like, it's not that it's bad. It's just that, it's a cliffhanger, I guess. I'm gonna have to wait 2 weeks to find out what happens. So I guess it's not as bad as waiting a whole season, but yeah. And this week on the Top Lofty Lounge, it's movie night again, and I wanted to do the movie Star Crash, 1978, but Cam said no. So we're gonna do. We're gonna do a better movie.
What? No Knight Rider?
Star Crash is. It's not well rated. It's it's in the 4.
Well, Knight Rider's in it.
yes, that's true. David Hasselhoff is. It's one of his first things in it.
Hasselhoff, the young Hasselhoff.
Yeah, he's in there.
It's a terrible movie. It really is.
You've seen it, Dean?
I have. I saw it when it came out.
Oh, really? Oh, that's
yes, it was. It was shown at school on one of the film evenings, so they had
Shown
proper
at
real
school?
projector, and we were all in the hall, and it was shown on the big screen. Because of course,
It's
Star
basically
Wars
women
was
running around in
massive.
bikinis for a significant portion of the film.
Yeah,
They're
but
all dressed.
it was a grown-up school, you know.
Okay.
Dude, I had a teacher in 10th grade showed Airplane.
That's a good film.
That is a very good film.
Especially when the woman bounces across the screen topless. We were all like, yes!
Yeah, but when we were young, the ratings allowed a lot more to happen in the film, because you know it was just considered acceptable at the time.
Okay. Oh,
And Cam, goodbye, Cam, on there. Thank you for coming on there. I know he has to leave at this point. We'll see him.
My
next
teacher
time
showed
on
this
there.
in 2002.
So what movie?
Guys.
What movie are we doing Sunday?
You're stepping on my bits, and now you're stepping on my outro. Jeez. So we can't do Star Crash because Cam said no. So we're gonna do a actual good science fiction movie, which we've had on the list for a while. Capricorn 1.
Oh, that's good.
That's also
a good movie.
1978.
That one up.
And that's that's free on YouTube. Of course, I mean all of our movies we prefer to be free, but it's free to be seen on YouTube. I'll be putting it up pretty soon with the link. Everyone can get it, but if you just go on YouTube and Google it, you'll find it yourself. Come right up. Yeah, it should be a good discussion and with an actual good movie. Yeah, so
Yeah,
that's
that
what we're
is a
doing.
good movie. But also, what are we also? Are we airing it tomorrow?
What
Trailer?
This is what? Oh, on Babylon 5, yes. Yeah. Of course, there is we have a special, which Madman made up, a special season 4 part 1 trailer that we're going to release tomorrow. On all platforms and all across the world. It's just our promo for season 4. And we're splitting season 4 into two parts. The first 6 episodes, and then the remaining episodes become part 2. So but you guys don't have to worry about that. So
yeah, we're doing it because basically it's going to be the first half is the Shadow War, and then the rest of it is the Earth Civil War.
Oh, spoilers! You're giving it away.
Well, it's not giving anything away, but that's why we're splitting it up.
Well, now I know that the Shadow War is going to be over by episode 6.
Well, I told you this.
I know.
I gave you the trailers that you knew.
I know. I'm trying to pretend that I don't know. I've split my brain into 2 pieces, and there's the piece that knows and the piece that doesn't.
It doesn't know. But yeah, no.
It's
tomorrow night
to do, but I do it for the show.
Yeah, and Jeff, look, I put you in the screen this time around. Because Jeff got out because for some reason his picture wasn't coming up on the ad. I don't know. It's like we had Outpost in there, we had and then Dean's picture wouldn't come up for some reason. I mean, not Dean's. Jeff's picture wouldn't come up on the screen.
AI doesn't like him.
Well, no, we were using one particular picture from the Bard's picture, and it just I don't know the AI system just couldn't separate it. So I needed a direct picture of him, and he gave me one, and it worked. It worked this time around to the point on there. Oh, so we got that, and this week on our show, on Man with the Show, we got 3 videos hitting Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Wednesday, we are hitting over at Utah over the VPN law that was supposed to go into effect this week, but unfortunately, IO, which is the parent company to a lot of the adult sites, has done a lawsuit. So basically, that's going to be put aside for now for at least 120 days, while that's gone through the court circuit, which I believe it's going to end up in SCOTUS. Then on Thursday, we have more on the anime privacy crackdown to that point. And Friday, big story we got here. Roku and TCL are being sued because their TVs have been bricked by updates. In other words, if you brought a TCL with a Roku hookup in as far as the software, If you had issues, well, here's the reason why, and basically someone is taking them to task and bringing them to court on this issue. And I'm not sure if we'll squeeze it in for next week's Man Cafe. Netflix, because we're working on it right now. Netflix is being sued by Texas over their practices on, according to Texas, Ken Paxton, that they've been selling their information to advertisers, whereas Netflix have said that they've been sharing it, there is a big difference between the two. But let's see how that story starts to progress in the next day or two. And if it's going to be on Cafe, we'll have it on Cafe. If not, it'll be in one of our videos. So until next time, thank you for tuning in. Thank you for all of our panelists here this week. We really do appreciate them showing up, especially Cam, who's left on there, which, we love that Cam was here on there, RoboCam. But until next time, stay mad, stay cool, buy physical media, and fight against censorship. Bye-bye now.
You're welcome, everyone.
Goodbye.
Later.
Hey everyone, thank you so much for hanging out with us today. We truly appreciate every single one of you. Don't forget to check out our official merch shop and our amazing affiliate partners. Until next time, mwah!